Good morning, students. This is another topic of acid and bases, which is called relative strength of acid and bases. Relative strength means if you compare two acid, which one is more stronger, which one is weaker. If you want to compare that, then that is called relative strength of acid and bases. And to find out the relative strength, I mean who will be stronger, who will be weaker, to find out that, how to find out the relative strength. So normally there are some acids which are said to be strong acid, and there are some acids which are said to be weak acid. Similarly for bases, there are some bases which are called strong base, and there are some base which are said to be weak base. For example, sodium hydroxide, potassium hydroxide, this type of bases act as strong base. Ammonium hydroxide, calcium hydroxide, this type of bases act as weak base. Similarly, hydrochloric acid, nitric acid, sulfuric acid, they act as strong acid. But oxalic acid, acetic acid, this type of carbonic acid, this type of acids act as weak acid. Now, how to find out who is stronger, who is weaker, or how to find out who will be more stronger, who will be less stronger? If you want to find out that, then you have to know about this relative strength. Now, to find out the relative strength, first time you have to know that acid is said to be the strong acid, which can release the H plus ion more easily. As you know, acid are the substance which can release H plus ion, and bases are the substance which can release OH minus ion. Now, those acid which can release H plus ion more easily, it will act as strong acid. And the acid which cannot release H plus ion easily, that type of acid is said to be weak acid. Similarly for bases, those bases which can release OH minus ion easily, they are said to be strong base, and those bases which cannot release OH minus ion easily, they are said to be weak bases. So this is one of the concepts to find out who will be stronger, who will be weaker. Secondly, to find out the relative strength of acid and bases, it depends on value which is called Ka or Kb. This is called dissociation constant of acid, this is called dissociation constant of base. In case of acid, you use Ka constant, and in case of base, you use Kb constant, which is called dissociation constant of base. Already you have got in Ostwald dilution law. From this Ka and Kb value, you can find out the relative strength. Higher the value of Ka, stronger is the acid. Lower the value of Ka, weaker is the acid. Similarly, higher the value of Kb, stronger is the base. Lower the value of Kb, weaker is the base. So how do you know about Ka and Kb value? This Ka and Kb value, it is one of the experimental quantity. In your book, in your textbook, the Ka and Kb value for different acid and bases are given, and from that values you can find out who will act as, who will be stronger, who will be weaker. Always remember, higher the value of Ka or Kb, stronger is the acid or base. Now what is this Ka or Kb? Suppose HCl, when you dissolve in water, it produces hydronium ion and Cl minus ion. Then you, by applying the law of mass action, you can write the constant K. K is equal concentration of hydronium ion into concentration of Cl minus ion, I mean multiplication of the concentration of product divided by multiplication of the concentration of reactant, I mean concentration of HCl into concentration of water. Since the water concentration remain almost constant in the reaction, that is why you can multiply with the constant K into H2O, then this will remain multiplication of the concentration of hydronium ion and chloride ion divided by concentration of HCl. This K into H2O you can write as Ka, I mean dissociation constant of acid. So K is equal multiplication of hydronium ion into chloride ion divided by concentration of HCl. So this is the process how to find out the dissociation constant of acid. Here you know HCl is acid, that's why I have applied A. If you consider some bases here, then you have to write Kb. So K is for acid, Kb for base. Now if the Ka value is more, that means the acid will be strong, and if Ka value is less, the acid will be weak. Now when Ka value will be more, Ka value will be more if the concentration of hydronium ion and Cl minus ion is more. If these two is more, then you will get more Ka value. And when these two will be more, when the HCl release more number of H plus ion, more number of hydronium ion and chloride ion, you will get, then the concentration of this and this will be more, then the Ka value will be more. So as you know, the acid which can release H plus ion easily, if it can release H plus ion easily, it will release more H plus, I mean you will get more hydronium ion, more chloride ion, ultimately the value of Ka will be more. But if it is weak, it cannot release more H plus ion, that is why hydronium ion you will get less, ultimately Ka value will be less, and that type of acid is said to be weak. So that is what, higher the value of Ka, stronger is the acid, and the lower the value of Ka, weaker is the acid. Similarly for base, higher the value of Kb, stronger will be the base, lower the value of Kb, weaker is the base. So that is why to find out the relative strength, suppose between hydrochloric acid and nitric acid, who is stronger, then you have to know about their Ka values. Whose Ka value is more? Depending on that, you can find out their relative strength, whether HCl will be stronger or nitric acid will be stronger. So different acids have different Ka value, and the Ka values are given in your book. You follow the book. In the book you will get a table. In that table the K and Kb values for different acids and bases are given, and from that values you can find out who is stronger, who will be weaker one. So this is the process how to find out the relative strength of acid and bases. Now another topic which is called ionic product of water. Ionic product of water. This is one of the important topic, ionic product of water. As you know, if the water is pure, if the water is 100% pure, then it is bad conductor of electricity, because pure water cannot produce ions. If there are no ions in solution, then electricity you cannot conduct inside the solution. So pure water is bad conductor of electricity or poor conductor of electricity due to unable to form the ions. But in the pure water, if you apply little amount of acid or little amount of base or little amount of salt in water, then it becomes good conductor of electricity. That is why if you want to conduct electricity with water, if you add little amount of acid, base or salt, then the water becomes good conductor of electricity. And when you add some acid, base or salt, then water can produce ions, and water produce ions like this, H2O. When it breaks, it produces hydronium ion and OH minus ion. To balance this, you have to put 2 here. Actually, water dissociate like this in presence of acid, base or salt. Water produce hydronium ion and OH minus ion. You know, the substance which can produce hydronium ion, they are called acid, and the substance which can produce OH minus ion, they are called base. But water can produce both hydronium ion and OH minus ion, hydroxide ion, and that is why water is said to be amphoteric. In this already you have got. So water can produce both the ions. Now, by applying the law of mass action, you can write the K constant, concentration of H3O plus into concentration of OH minus divided by concentration of water whole square. The coefficient must be power. And since water concentration remains constant, that is why concentration of water you can multiply with the constant K. This is equal to concentration of hydronium ion into concentration of OH minus ion. And this K into H2O whole square, this you can write as KW, W for water. This is equal to concentration of hydronium ion into concentration of OH minus ion. This KW is called ionic product of water. This KW is called ionic product of water. It is also called ionic product of water, or you can say dissociation constant of water. Dissociation constant of water. So if you want to define ionic product of water, how do you define? Ionic product of water is defined as the multiplication of the concentration of hydronium ion and hydroxide ion. When you multiply concentration of H2 plus ion and concentration of OH minus ion, that multiplication give the ionic product of water. That is why if you want to define, ionic product of water is defined as the product of the concentration of hydronium ion and hydroxide ion. In exam, the definition may ask how to define ionic product of water. Then you have to define like this: it is the product of concentration of hydronium ion and hydroxide ion. Thank you.